Hey everybody, Jason here. Welcome to Shelf Stories and this latest episode of Chat with Friends. This is not your usual episode in the board gaming space, so I wanted to give a proper introduction. This is a conversation where I invited 6 African American creators in board gaming to a safe space to talk about their stories, their personal stories, their identity, and their struggles and blessings, and everything that comes with trying to create a truly multicultural space within board gaming. It is joyful. We have a lot of laughs, but it's also personal and straightforward and direct, and definitely, something that people might not be used to. We worked very hard to create a safe space for one another to share authentically. So for anyone who is interested in commenting, watching, engaging the content in any way, I would like to ask one simple thing. See, but try not to judge. See my panelists. See that they are African American. We lean into it. We don't lean away from it. This is the one conversation where it's in all its glory, right? It's all right there for you. See that, and we see that as a positive thing. Full stop. We're not leaning away from that at all. But try not to bring judgment to that. I did not invite these panelists here only because they're Black. This is not a reductive exercise. I invited them on because they're Black creators and excellent at what they do. Imagine that. It's both at the same time. Black and excellence. We have a lot more to say about Black excellence in the body of the episode. The other thing is that although we do get critical, we don't want to just stay there. We don't want to just be in negativity for the sake of it. We want this community to be better. We want to have more fun, not less. We don't want to take away anybody's fun. We want a truly multicultural gaming space, and I think we all realize that it takes a lot of work to do that. We're not just going to get there by not talking about the issues. You want to get there by talking about the issues and moving through the issues and get into something better. That's our hope anyway. That's the contribution that this episode is trying to make. So I invite you to check it out. Tell us what you think. So enough of my blathering. On with the show. Yo, my peoples, what's up? Welcome to Shelf Stories, the channel that tells tales from games, books, and life. And check out this beautiful site in front of you. I have gathered. It took a long time. It took a lot of doing. It's kind of hurting cats when you have this many people, but it was worth it. It is Black History Month. We're continuing to celebrate that in Shelf Stories, and we are just going to go for it. I have invited creators, people who are in the board gaming content sphere. We're doing content, we're designing games, doing all sorts of stuff, and we are all, not we, sorry, Mick, but all the people that I have invited over here are Black, African American, however you self-identify. We're going to talk about that. So before I get into everything that this show is going to be about, I would like everybody one by one, starting to my right on the screen, which is Fertessa. Please introduce yourself and your channel to all the peoples.
Hello, so I'm Fertessa Allyse, and while I don't have a YouTube channel, I am at Fertessa on Twitter, and I'm a game designer and also a game producer at Funko Games.
Book of Villainy?
Yes, the games that are coming out are Book of Villainy, Wicked and Wise, and Mansplaining. Yeah.
All right, there we go. To below Fertessa is Monique. I'll allow her to introduce herself right now.
Hi, I'm Monique, and I go by Game Freak Geek Girl. You can find me on Twitch where I stream board game and video game content. I'm a professional speaker.
There it is.
And you can also follow me on Twitter where I get people to sing together and talk about all kinds of things.
Very cool. I participated in one of those Twitter threads where you volunteered 15 seconds or whatever that was of karaoke. Man, that made my day.
It was so fun.
So good.
So fun. And they just kept coming and my heart just kept growing 3 times too big. It was delightful.
At one point, awesome. We're going to get together and do some karaoke on this show, but today is not the day for that. We are going to go down to my south. This man has been on my show many, many times. This is the first person I thought of when I wanted to put the panel together. We've had conversations about this. He is very active. If you see on the front page of BGG, they are repping him right now. Uh, it may not be on BGG by the time I post this, but it was right there on the front page. Representing is Mr. Jeremy Howard from Man vs. Meeple. Jambalaya Plays Games.
Hey man, how y'all doing? Yeah, that was pretty crazy. That was crazy to wake up to. I figured they were gonna have me on there because Eric asked me for a picture, but like at some point,
picture.
right? I know I was like a picture, not like a collage of me. You know, like I was going to bed at like 1:30, and I was like, "What the hell?" So yeah, it's pretty wild, right?
Jeremy Shrine. Like
Yeah.
I thought he was over here with like, yeah, I got all these pictures of Jeremy. I just need
Yeah,
one
I'm
good
like-
one from him, and then I can take the rest that I have.
I was
and just
like,
make
okay.
it beautiful.
Yeah.
No, man, it's honor and privilege, man. You know, there's definitely more people out here doing it bigger than me, man. But damn, that's awesome.
All right. So down over here, looking like Marco Inaros from The Expanse. Got that from Mik and Starla. Thank you very much for that one. But I broke my thing with Jeremy. I'm going to go back to it. I'm going to allow Eric to introduce himself and his content.
Yeah, so my name's Eric Yurko. I'm having I wouldn't even call it a bad hair day. I'm just having a hair day.
No, your hair is evolving. Your hair is evolving.
It's a hair
That's not even your final form right there. That's not even your final.
No, if I wanted a final form, there's still some stuff like up here. Yeah, no. So I don't normally have my hair like this. I'm normally a little bit more presentable. But I'm moving houses today. But I wanted to make sure I could make it on to chat with you all, fine folk. So I'm super stoked to be here. But let me introduce myself. My name is Eric Yurko. I'm a writer and photographer for What's Eric Playing, a board game review site. Normally there would be board games in the background. Right now I don't even have a chair. I'm sitting on the floor just living my best life.
All right. Living your
I'm trying
best
to give
life.
off the like I very clearly moved today vibes, and I think I'm like nailing that. That's the real dream here. Anyways, I'm on Twitter at What's E Playing, what'sericplaying.com, Instagram.com/what'sericplaying. Find me there. Let's chat about games. Let's chat about what makes games look good, and let's just chat about whatever else. Honestly, at this point, I'm hoping to get probably some feedback on my hair at this point, so it's just gonna happen.
It's just going to happen.
We're just living the dream over here, honestly.
Last and certainly not least, we have Our Family Plays Games. This was a person had interacted with me on my YouTube channel. I saw their YouTube channel, Our Family Plays Games. Very, very mutual respect in terms of the issues that we're covering. So much good content, editorials like I do as well. Mik and Starla, they go back and forth together. They share some knowledge. So please introduce yourselves.
Yes, let's do our thing.
All right. For those of you who don't know us, I'm Starla.
I'm Mik.
And we are
Our Family Plays Games. Booyah! Yeah!
Gave you the good stuff right
Yeah.
there, like rehearsed over 100 episodes.
Talk about us, baby.
Yes.
Talk about it. Talk about it. Go ahead. Tell us who we are.
Oh, oops.
Tell us who we
Okay.
are.
So we are
Yay.
Our Family Plays Games.
That's right.
We are a board game entertainment
Yes. Yes.
channel. We review sometimes. And we're on the Dice Tower. We're on Instagram, Facebook. Where else? Twitter?
Well, with Twitter,
Yeah.
Instagram,
Facebook,
Facebook.
and the Dice
Yeah,
Tower.
we're and YouTube. YouTube.
Well, yeah, YouTube.
All
That's
good
right.
stuff.
You can check out our channel.
Yeah.
So we
But you got to tell them that, what we're trying to do is, bring families into
Well,
the
you
board
tell them
game.
right now.
Yeah, I
don't
know.
have to
And
do
also
that.
diversity inclusion is our main mission. And it started from day one.
What he said.
Yay.
Good. Diversity and inclusion is exactly why I have gathered these my fam. I say yo my people's what's up. I have been saying that for about 6 years now. My content, I've never meant that more. My people's and we're talking about diversity. We're talking about in particular the Black experience in board gaming. So there is we can talk about games, and every single one of these people here has been on like one of these multi-person calls in the last couple of months. They're getting a lot easier. StreamYard and the Bumblebee thing or whatever it is, and Zoom like we're doing over here. And there's a lot of gaming content and all that kind of thing. I wanted to kind of get behind the screen a little bit and introduce us as gamers. So, and not only that, I wanted to share, I could say like, okay, this is the Black content creators panel, but there's a lot of diversity here, even within the community. And I wanted to take this opportunity to have every person here share a little bit about their family background and, what in their family, maybe brought them into games, or maybe just, something about their family themselves to help you, the viewer, understand where we're all coming from. And after that, I'll go into a little bit about my thing, but I want to foreground my guests over here. So I'm going to go with Monique. I will go with Monique first. Now I'll ask you, tell us a little bit about yourself and your family background.
Hi. So, about myself, or about my family. So I'm mixed. I have my white grandmother and my Black grandfather. They had their half Black children in the 60s when it was still illegal to be Black in Oregon. So that was something that really, really went through and shaped my family, and then also myself growing up. So that was my family.
Oregon
where
is
it's
not
just like-
exactly a bastion of
It is-
Black
it's like-
culture.
Yes, it was very segregationist. It was like pretty much the only place on the West Coast that still upheld a lot of more of Jim Crow South, where it just wasn't prevalent as much as it was just very, very strong there. And so that was still very much my experience living in Oregon, and then just everyone kind of assuming I was related to the other 4 Black people in the state. I was not. But so that was where I grew up. I moved a lot. I was a very thoughtful and curious kid, which was not really safe to do. It wasn't safe to be curious. It wasn't safe to ask questions because you weren't supposed to talk to, like, there was just some people that like I wasn't allowed to talk to, and I didn't know why. But, and like also visiting my family in the South, because my father is African American and he is from the South and grew up in the projects of St. Louis. And that also shaped his experience, which also formed my own experience, which is this very like very interesting like kind of amalgamation that created this me. And then I was also just a weirdo,
in the best ways.
Time in the best ways. Yeah. I read way too many fairy tales. And I was far too curious. I would like set up like the board game Clue and then set up my house to represent what I saw on the Clue board and what I would find. So it was just a very odd kid.
You're using a lot of this past tense, and I'm like, you're like, oh, I read too many fairy tales, and I'm like, past?
That was last week.
What did you share on Twitter last week?
I set up my house. To, like,
not checking out, Monique. Not checking out. Still
I'm still an odd human being.
Hey.
We love you. I'm just
absolutely.
I'm just here for accuracy.
You're beautiful.
Thank you.
Black star. You're a beautiful black star.
Thank you, Eric. Spoken like a true Aquarius, you weirdo. Thank you for helping me recognize myself, because it is not past tense. But it was just a lot weirder back then than it is now, because now I can make it a career. And as a kid, I had to hide that. So I did not make it easy for my family to not draw attention if they didn't want it.
All right, thank you very much, Monique. I'm going to move over. Since you called to Eric's attention, this is what happens when you pipe up, Eric. Gonna have to throw it to you. Maybe share a little bit about yourself and your family background.
Yeah, absolutely. So unfortunately, my answer to this question is not going to be very interesting, and I apologize. It's not interesting because I don't have a lot of that information. So I'm roughly half Black. I'm adopted. So both my parents are white. And I grew up in a small town in West Virginia, so 8,000 people. There were not a lot of Black people in town. Just not very many. I guess people just hadn't really been exposed to it at all. At least one kid had picked up some ethnic slurs along the way, so like he's learning, I guess. But I had a pretty similar experience to Monique. I was pretty precocious, pretty big nerd. I still am, honestly. Like I was, a lot of times it was very much like, I guess I have this N64. I should probably go play the N64. My parents like, oh, those video games are gonna rot your brain or something. I never really figured out what that was.
Mhm.
Played too many video games. My family had a pretty decent like board game culture growing up, so we would play
Wow.
like Pit, I guess, was the hot game. Careers, which made a hideous variant called Careers for Girls in like 1992. Oh
Whoa.
yeah, and the thing is,
Whoa.
anything that you imagine that game is like, it's
It was.
worse.
It was. Yeah.
Significantly worse. I was just
It's like
I
the old Guess Who. Just like, yeah, it's just terrible.
basically someone was like, hey, we only got like 5 misogynistic things on this board and there's 6 spaces, and someone's like, oh, I got one, and you're just like, it's bad.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Right.
but so most of my background is that sort of the duality of that experience, right? So
Sure.
it's a disconnection from the like almost disconnection from the diaspora that exists, because I'm just not really connected to it as much via my parents, and they did the best they could, but like
Mhm.
when you're confronted with like an overwhelming cultural like push away from being like your own thing to more assimilate into the larger like white culture that exists, it becomes very difficult as a child, because my parents, bless them, they were like, hey, there's like a Black Heritage Festival in town, do you want to go? But like I didn't, because I didn't want to be different than the kids at large, right? I'm like 8 or 10 at the time, and it's challenging, right? We're talking like getting bullied in Sunday school level of challenging, where you're like, this isn't, there's problems in that structure. So I was very lucky educationally to have a lot of good support at home, a lot of good support from my teachers. So progressed through high school pretty quickly, got into college about as far away from West Virginia as I could go. Came out to California, got a tech job, kind of been there since. And so a lot of it's my relationship culturally to like the idea or identity of being Black is a lot of like what I read and the people I interact with and like the identity that I kind of forged for myself.
You have to reclaim it.
Yeah, there's a real profound, I've talked to some other people who are especially like the word transracial adoption gets thrown around a fair bit. Like people who are in that category have a very weird relationship with their own culture, especially because like their parent, like, right, because when we're talking like parents and family, your parents are the people who are like telling you how to get your hair cut, telling you like the things you need to keep an eye out for. But like my parents don't have those experiences. They have different ones.
Right.
And so the lessons that they taught me were in line with their own experiences, which were good, were helpful. Like I'm pleased to be where I am now. Like they did a lot to like help me grow. It just means that now I have a different problem. And it's a really interesting problem to tease out, right? Because it means that like at some level, the pieces of that identity are going to be pushed together into something that is uniquely my own. But I also need to make sure that I'm trying to participate in the larger cultural identity. And so that's one of the reasons that I'm really excited to see the hobby grow and see more folks coming in from different communities, because it helps me gain a better understanding of the kind of communities that I want to participate in and the aspects of my identity that I really want to hold fast to as we like progress forward.
In the second part of our conversation, we're going to talk about how it's going in terms of Blacks and the integration of the community, but we are going to continue sharing with our family backgrounds. I'm going to go to Fertessa is next.
Yeah, so for me, I grew up an only child. I do have 5, 6 half siblings, but I grew up an only child. And so because of that, I think I had a huge burst of creativity growing up. Like Monique, I was the oddball in my classes and, you know, within my family, because my parents are relatively straight-laced. But I was the kid that would always ask questions out the blue just because I was thinking about them. And I'm looking back, I'm like, I'm surprised they weren't concerned, but I'm glad that they just encouraged the creativity. So growing up, yeah, I was always kind of in my head.
Where did you grow up, by the way?
Oh, sorry, Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia. Ooh.
TL in Atlanta.
What? She's from Atlanta.
You're not.
That's a
That's
black
a hype man. That's hype man.
I mean, it is ATL. So, yeah, as far as gaming is concerned, maybe because I was the only child, I really gravitated towards games with my family. My parents would play like Yahtzee with me and Monopoly, and they'd buy the games, and just leave them with me. And I often found myself playing both roles, because eventually parents will get to a point where they buy the game, but they don't want to read the rules, and they'll just sit there in the corner. So I would just read the rules or rarely make up my own rules for them, and play them that way. And then, as far as like my identity and everything, I actually, as a child, was made aware of my Blackness by everybody else. It was by like TV. The first time I was aware that I was Black, it was like a special on Martin Luther King Black History Month. And they were like, Martin Luther King loved Black people. And I was like, wait, so he doesn't love me? and they're like, no, he loves you. And I was like, but I'm brown. And they're like, no, that means you're Black. So that was like my first time confronting the word, you are Black. And the next one was like, maybe I was around 8 or 9. My best friend was white, and she made me aware of racism, because we would hang out in the neighborhood, run in here and there, do sleepovers. But another girl in the neighborhood did not like me. And I just thought it was because she was a big kid and I was a little kid. But my friend, my best friend at the time, she was just like, I really don't like this girl because she's racist. And I was like, what does that mean? And she's like, she doesn't like you because you're Black. And I was just like, well, I don't know what to do about that, but okay. So like, I had these little moments in my life where other people introduced the fact that my Blackness made me different rather than me coming to that awareness on my own. So I feel like my growth with my identity didn't come until I was much older as an adult, because so many people and things in the media were telling me what Blackness was before I even had a true understanding of what that meant.
That is, I'm sensing a theme. I'm definitely sensing Monique is smiling. She's giving a little smile. Erica's smiling of, an identity. It's not natural. You have to be born into it. And sometimes you're born into the fire of this stuff, depending on where you are, or either you're directly connected with the fire, or it's like just simmering under the surface under a big snowy blanket, So, definitely one of the things we wanted to accomplish here is to kind of highlight some of those stories. Hype Man over here has piped up, but I'm going to follow my own rule. If you pipe up, you get to go again. So we're going to go to Mik and Starla. Tell us a little about your background.
You go first.
Native Houstonian, only child. I do have a half sister. We don't have a relationship, but only child of my mother's. What else? I grew up at a time when our family moved out into the suburbs. So I experienced what they call white flight. So every time a Black family would move in, a white family would move out. So I had white friends, and as soon as I got used to them, their families would move away, because when a new Black family moved in, a white family would move out. So I grew up in a district that went from white to mixed to Black. So I've had all the experience. I never had a doubt of who I was. I mean, I always knew I was Black. I knew I had a family that was very rooted in who we were, very proactive in promoting the culture. I grew up in a neighborhood where my relatives lived in the neighborhood. I had an uncle down the street. I had an uncle a couple of streets over. So we all lived in the same neighborhood. I mean, it's always been something you have to deal with. But I think I had more issues with it as an adult. And I think I experienced more as an adult with issues of race. As a kid, I didn't really understand white flight so much until I became an adult. I just knew my friends were moving away. But I never let that be a deterrent for me being me. I'm always going to be me, regardless of who is around me. It's just race is something you deal with. And it's unfortunate that race or racism has really held us back as a country, not just as a Black race. America could be great if people weren't so hung up on the color of our skin. So many, the white race wasted so much time on holding us back. They can't get ahead. And then we can't get ahead.
Preach, girl,
You can't
preach.
go forward if you're holding somebody else back. So it's, like I said, racism is something I'm still working with, but I want other people to know that regardless of what you look like, who you are, where you're from, everybody is human. And we have to be accepted as such. But
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. Oh, did I say Houston, Texas?
Yeah, you said
Houston,
Houston.
Texas.
For me, I'm from Houston, Texas too, and growing up, I grew up a single child, and with my mother, single parent. But from day one, I knew I was Black because my family believed in Black excellence. We come from I come from a family that are professionals and college educated, everybody. And so I had to go to college, and beyond that, I had to go to a Black college. So I went to a HBCU. Oh God, I would get crucified for that. I would get crucified.
Too many letters.
Historically Black college and university, baby. And I went to Prairie View A&M University, PVU. Yeah, 91.
Oh, Jesus.
So I've always known I was a Black dude, period. Especially when I went to middle school, when I was walking down the hall, I know the guy, the white boy, who passed me and called me the N-word. First day at school, I remember him. So, I can deal with, I deal with that, and I dealt with that more, but I learned my identity. I learned how strong it is. I always knew Black excellence. I never forgot that. So I've never had a doubt what I was and how strong my people have been. So, thank God to the ancestors who got me this far. So we good.
Just to underscore one thing before I get to Jeremy, white flight is a particular thing that happens. It started in the 50s where, urban centers became, blacker and blacker, and then whites moved to the suburbs. But then there's another level to it that you were describing where okay, sometimes, you have into the suburb. Now you have people coming from the city going to that suburb, Black people, property values go down. It's just inevitable. Property values.
Well, that's red line.
I need to get away. I need to go to another neighborhood
because you buy a house in a nice neighborhood, and then when you start to move in and the white people move out, they take all the amenities with them. The grocery stores leave, the clothing stores leave. So I actually experienced that. I watched it from a child. From where we had all kinds of grocery stores and movie theaters and everything. And by the time I got to high school, all this stuff was gone.
And, we see that in Omaha, because Omaha had a very, a lively, Black community back in the day, and North Omaha. And the white community here basically did their best to destroy it, to the point that they put a freeway right through the neighborhood, make sure that, white folk on one side could get to the other side through the neighborhood. And you see how, all the years that North Omaha has been just hurt. And, it's sad.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So when we're talking about racism, we're not talking about some general thing or some flame on Twitter. This is real life stuff to us.
Real life.
But let me, before I have let this man hang on the string long enough. Just because you're last doesn't mean that you're least, my friend. You are my man over here. So we're gonna we're gonna go with Jeremy. Tell us a little.
I'm gonna try not to be so serious, because I've been up in my own feelings. I start really thinking hard around this time of year and stuff with my family and stuff. And it kind of always heavy because we have a lot of my father's side of the family. They have some parts of our family, extended family, that's very affluent, and they did all this research and go back and give us all these stories and stuff like that. Like this Cannon Beckley right here, that's like 1900. And then we even have some papers, like some actual plantation papers from the States. Like I have them. I have a picture of them right here. It's crazy. But yeah, man, I was the only child. My dad had 3 kids in the same year by 3 different women. Swag all day. But yeah, my mom, we was by ourselves. And, I always say like my first board game was a Super Bowl. Like I was a dexterity kid. So I played jacks, a lot. I still love Super Bowls to this day. Yeah, man. So I would say for board game wise, I wouldn't have known board games really that well, unless my family played cards so much. They played cards so much. And board games came to me via donations to the Boys and Girls Club. So we didn't. I would have never really known about all these games, but eventually I think I would, because where I was like in the hood, and we got a program in our city called like a 220 program. So it was one of those ones where they take the kids out the city and then they like bring them out to the burbs. Well, I was like one of the first crop of kids that went out there. So it was like us, like the 6 black kids coming on the bus to the white school, you know, like crazy. Like it felt really strange, really, really strange. Cause you got a school of 400 kids who are white, suburban. And here we are, like we really stick out, you know, like, and they separated us too. It was like 2, 2, and 2. So it's like, you know, everybody's just like, hey, cling on me, cling on to you. And it changed as the years went along, because the other school in the district had the same thing. And each year they added more and more. And there was just a lot of bumps in the road. I mean, like so many issues, just so many issues. I remember we were in Cub Scouts, and like they had the white people walked out, like we had to walk out because they were like, we don't want to help you. We've helped you thus far. You don't need any of our money anymore. They don't realize like we don't have money like that, you know, like them to go on all these field trips and shit like that. We don't have no money, you know? And that was tough. And then to go back on that, like that confusion, just like me playing soccer, going back to the hood, playing soccer, like who plays soccer in the hood? You know, like I was into swimming, like who swims in the hood? You know, like although up the street, you know, we had our big swimming pool, so my grandma emphasized swimming, you know, like, but it was just like, it was like foreign to a lot of people. And then the hardest part was knowing all of that. And eventually like some of those things melded together well as we got older, because both sides learned a lot, you know, and it ended up being a great learning opportunity for the entire community on both sides. But like the contrast starting out as a child on the South side of it all, the South version, because I went to go stay with my grandma and my aunts and stuff. I mean, man, we're talking like kid age, getting a gun pointed at you because you playing with their kids. You know, like my grandpa's house in rural Tuskegee, Alabama. There was these brothers or whatever. I don't know who they were. It was like this little family. They had a shotgun. They would yell at my grandpa, "We gonna kill y'all, or we gonna take your land." Da, 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 da. And I just thought they were drunk, you know, yelling and silly stuff, right? But they would run across his land on a truck. Like they would drive across land and drive out of there, like almost like out of a movie. I didn't understand all that stuff, but I remember it. And you know, just like, you know, we would go to the church program. And I thought, oh, we can play with those kids. My cousin grabbed me, don't you dare touch them. Like, don't, you know, that was Arkadelphia, Arkansas, very, very small county. And Malvern County, I should say, not Arkadelphia is part of it. But yeah, man, like you just get so many rude awakenings. And as Fertessa said, you find out how black you are, you know, like it remind you who you are. Like you ain't always invited.
That's every day, 24/7.
You forgot. You forgot. Like, let me teach you. Let me make sure you understand. You know, like and it's coming up a lot more. You know, in this industry, which is was really unsettling for me to start 21. Like very unsettling. Like I was like, holy, like, wow, this is like we can't even get 5 days into this, and it's been wild. It's been wild for me. Right. Honestly, not to be selfish about it, but like, yeah, it's been wild for me.
It's been wild. I know it's wild particularly for you, but it's also been wild for a lot of us.
But you know, you can't, you know, one thing you can't expect, you know, this hobby to be enlightened, because this is a microcosm of America or just the world. So as racism still is running rampant, this hobby's not going to just blow up and be better.
You know what though? I was foolish. You know what I'm saying? I was foolish. Because, you know, I took a day off. You know, I tried to like take it off, you know, put my shoulders down for 1 second.
Can't never do
that. I effed up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know better. And that's the thing. Like, people don't like that. That's the thing. Like, you don't understand. Like, I always think about this. I was explaining this to my wife. My wife is white. I was like, you realize when I come in a room, you come in a room, you just come in a room. Like, I'm assessing a lot of stuff when I come in a room. Like, I don't think, like, I'm actually thinking about it when I come in the room, not because I was in the military, I'm always trying to find exits, but like, I'm still like assessing the room. Like, okay, I need to know what's up.
Is this friendly?
You know,
is this a friendly space?
But that's every day. I mean, just
like
my house, I gotta assess the whole thing. Every day I gotta assess. So, because my mission is just to get home every day, to leave out this house and to get home to my family. Because I know it's people out there that don't want me to come back.
Yeah.
So, hey, you know, that's the deal.
So it's like you feel it. You know what I'm saying? It's, like I said, I made the mistake, you know, of letting up a little bit, right? And that's why it hits so hard, because, you know, once you let down your armor, you can get stabbed in it, right? You get stabbed under. So I tell people, like, you know, don't let your armor down. My grandpa used to say, don't let your armor down around them.
I think that's something
they'll get you
so much, is that, like, imagine the stuff that we could do if we didn't have to spend so much of our bandwidth just constantly assessing every situation, every room we walk into, every person that we interact with. As, is this person friendly, or are they just going to suddenly do a complete 180 and just like lose it on us?
Yeah. And that token is straight. That token is big in this thing, man. They'll grab onto you and be like, "Hey, man, I got him over here." You know, big shiny black dude with the smile, right? So it's been wild. That's been real wild.
You give it some very knowing nods, Monique. Do you have anything that you along that line of like that vigilance that happens?
Yes. I was actually just talking to one of my friends about this earlier today, where it's just like a large part of having grown up not understanding why the rules were different for some people and others, because like I saw the racism and then I began to recognize it. Like when it was overt, I could recognize it as racism, but the other stuff wasn't explained. The subtleties, like why the rules are different for boys than they are for girls, and why the rules are different for blacks than they are for whites, and why the rules are also different if I'm mixed for some reason, or like why can't I, if I'm black, why aren't the rules the same for me here in the black community, like where I'm supposed to be black, and then why are the rules different for me because I'm mixed? And then same thing with white people. It's just like all they see was me being black. So when my white grandmother would come to my school, they'd like, I could never convince them I wasn't adopted. Like, and it was, and like, not that, and I could never understand why that was such an insult to sling at me anyway, or like anyone at all. I just didn't understand why these things were supposed to be bad that they would say. And so like, rather than really, like, I was aware of the racism, but not understanding it. So that hypervigilance and that observation and watching everyone, I had to always monitor, well, like what kind of behavior would these people want from me depending on where I was at? Because if I was with my black family members, I was already weird. There was like so many reasons why I would hear in any given moment, you're not black. And then there'd be like any given moment I go around the white people and they'd be like, you're nothing else.
You're black. Yeah.
So
you're black to the white people, you're white to the black people. It's
hey, you know, like there's a, I don't know if y'all have mixed kids. My son is mixed. It's so hard to, like, it's actually the hardest thing for me to explain to him, because I keep it real. Like he asked me for a question about anything, I will answer the question straight. I didn't realize the hardest one would he ask me, am I more black or am I more white? This just happened the last 2 weeks. And I was like, and I have an answer for everything. I don't know how, like, I was like, I'm not sure how to break it to him in a way that I would say, and I told him, I said, you are born of a black man and a white woman, and you are, you know, you are mixed. And some people will call you a lot of different things, you know, but I'm going to tell you right now, people are going to call you black. That's it. Like, the world is going to see you as black. You are darker than you are lighter, right? You know, they're trying to find out, they're trying to figure you out. And then unfortunately, the world we live in, you black. Like, you look sort of black, you black, you know, like, and that's just how it is. You know, you are not white. You are not white. You are black. And,
Eric, you had a thread on Twitter about being mixed. That was interesting. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about, how that the same dynamic, right? About like, you know, you're not really black or whatever it is. You want to share a little bit of that?
Or you don't sound black.
I don't even remember how it
you don't have black hair. What's up with that hair?
Right. You don't have black. Yeah.
I don't even know what's up with that. But
your hair is so epic.
I love worse. It's because I'm mirrored. That's the problem. Okay, let me just try and fix it. This is going to be how it is for a while. No, it's worse now. So I lost my entire train of thought. Yeah, so we're talking about being mixed. Yeah, that was the thing, is that the worst part is, like, to me on the mixed side, if someone like, if like Jeremy, in your case, if I had someone come to me and ask me, oh, I'm half black and half white, am I more black or am I more white? My instinctive, like my gut response to that was no. And like the simplicity of it being like, in certain circles you're going to run in, you just aren't going to be enough for anybody in that circle.
Right.
And that's terrible. It's like,
wow.
It's another form of loss, right? Like we're talking, like I was talking earlier about the idea of cultural loss, and that's like, if you can't gain a foothold in either the communities that you straddle, it's very difficult to find acceptance within that group, or to be able to forge your identity within that group, because the relationship between you and your identity is now mediated by people who believe that they are more that than you are. And that's like, it's not, obviously it's not everybody, but it's definitely like a non-trivial subset of people who will say, but you know, like, you're not, and they'll get in really close. Like you're not really black though, right? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like I'm not Rachel Dolazaling over here. Like, do I need to pull out like a 23andMe test? Like, what can I do to prove this to you? And they're like,
why do I have to prove anything?
And then they say something racist, and you're just like,
isn't it wild though? Like how you realize even how people like kind of either are overtly talk to you a certain way, like you said, lean in, and then some of them don't. They're not sure if you're in on some weird lingo yet, right? They're trying to dance around and like, oh, it's okay. Maybe I'll just say this, like, you know, I don't mean to sound racist, you know,
point, right?
Yeah.
You're like, well, you don't talk black. You're like, what did you want me to say? Like, well, I'm sorry, did I not learn the like being black passphrase for this week? Like, I thought I had my whole book on it, and like, did you update the almanac and not tell me? That's
it's crazy that like you know, black excellence is like understated, because it's like it's a surprise. It's almost treated like it's a surprise. You know, like when a kid, you know, a black kid goes to college at 12 years old, it's a surprise. Oh my God, look at this black kid. We prop him up. He's a black kid. And you know, like my ex, she was the smartest woman I've ever met. And her father was definitely racist as well. But one time I remember I got a 4.0. She got a 3.8. It was like her first non 4.0. And he looked at her and he's like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. He went to the bathroom. He said, did you get your grades, son? I said, yes. And I handed him my report card, and he looked and he said, you're smarter than I thought.
Yep.
I mean, you may hear one of those, like you're one of the good ones.
Yeah, we have to have like a compliment workshop over here about like things that aren't a compliment, like things that are just kind of terrible.
Like, I've been doing this all day. Like, I'm good, man. I got skills. Like, I got skills, and I don't need you to assess them either. You know, like.
And the worst part is that feeds into like stereotype threat, right? Like, if you're suddenly like, to your example, right, the black kid that goes to college at 12, if you slip up at all, people are going to be like, well,
we gave one a shot.
Yeah, you know, like, never going to do that again. And so now you have this entire weight on you, and there's like some people, God bless them, can do it. Like, they can fight through all of that, but like, it's no surprise that some people crack under that amount of pressure.
It's no surprise that they can get through, because what in the 60s, you know, what about the young girl that went to Little Rock, you know, the Little Rock school by herself, and her mama wanted her to do that, you know? So, I mean, our ancestors and the people that came before us, they dealt with it. They battled through. So, I mean, we've seen the examples.
When you say that, then the question is, why are we still having this conversation?
Why are we still having this conversation?
It's nothing that's abnormal.
Yeah.
We've seen Obama. You know,
smart dude.
Love
that man. Love him.
I mean, so it's not like this is an abnormal thing.
No.
So I don't understand why we're still having the same battle.
Because they don't care. And they don't care. And they don't want it to happen. Because let me tell you, white superiority and privilege built this country, and it ain't going away. We saw that June 6th. We saw that.
It's like, how many times do we have to prove over and over that we are not a monolith, that we all are different, that we go from the lightest light to the darkest dark. In our own families. In our own families, you can go to someone who looks like Eric all the way to somebody who looks like Wesley Snipes.
And I have that.
One family.
I have that.
So it's like, I don't understand why this is still an issue But because it is an issue, we have to continue to address it and fight it. And I'm gonna tell
Yep.
you, it gets tiresome.
Yes, it does.
It gets tiresome
tiresome.
also.
Because
Like
I have dealt with this my whole life. I've known people who were, went to Ivy League schools and they were excellent. And so why am I still proving that we can do this? We do it all the time.
It's because their minds are already made up. Like if you've got something, if you have your mind set on something, right? Anything that deviates from that is a one-off. It's an exception.
right.
So then that again, back to January 6th.
January 6th.
I'm still astonished as like how much we have to be the same. Like we have to be in a box.
Yeah.
Like the way people put us in a box, where it's like all of us are different.
Yeah.
We got a lot of only children in here, by the way.
Well,
But other than that, we are different. But I'm just saying, like we have different energy, we have different
And we all have
vibes.
to deal with different things with our kids because see, we don't have a mixed kid.
Right.
We have a kid who is black, and then we got so many worries with that. I mean, him to go out
And
this
being a
door
boy.
and being a boy too, a man,
Yeah.
black
Yeah.
boy in America with them cops. That's just like, hey,
Yeah. But I look at, I'm saying like I gotta,
yeah,
He is
I gotta do. I gotta, and that's the thing. My son is sheltered. I gotta deal with that when it comes, right? And he's built like me. When I was a little boy, and I said, I remember we had something like happened with him a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, I'm still like that to this day. I've seen so much violence.
How
And
old
I
is your
still,
son, Jeremy?
he's 8. And I remember when I was around that age, I used to see people get their butt, get whooped right up in the street, like just get pounded, gang, stuff like that. And I used to always cry when I watched it because I would tell my mom, like, why would anybody want to hurt anybody?
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny. It's not funny, but I'm just saying my son says the same thing. And I'm like, oh my God, like you're going to be, it's going to be crushing. Like it's going to be crushing to see people hurt you when you don't know why. Like it's troubling. And if he's going to be like that, and sometimes I still feel like that today, even though I can take it on the chin and I can resist it, right? I can do something about it. It's still inside of me. I'm like, why are these people trying to hurt us? Why do you have to do that?
It's been bred into them.
It's like
part of the DNA of America. It's a part of the DNA of America.
Yeah.
I said, I mean, hey, I had somebody today, they put on their Facebook post, they're like, hey, just want to let you guys know that, that BHM on YouTube, I had to research it because I didn't know what it was, but it's Black History Month. I didn't know. I just want to let you guys know. I mean, come on now.
So the question is, why don't you know?
Why you don't
It's
know?
been around forever.
Because like my wife always says, we always got to know about them, but they don't need to know nothing about us.
Yeah. So and that happened last year when I had somebody, and he got to the 15, really good friend of mine too. But he said, you know what's crazy, man? He said, you know what's crazy? It's I remember it was like a 17th or something. Like he was like, you know what, man? You post all this stuff. He's like, I didn't even recognize it. And he's like, it's the 17th of the month. And I didn't even think it was Black History Month. He's like, I had to tell you that. It's embarrassing. And I was like, don't make a post about me. Don't make a post about me. And I said, just let it be, man. Like, this is how it works. And he was just like, man, I feel so bad. I'm like, don't feel bad, man. You wait all day. Like you can just walk about, like you walk about,
So let's just zoom the lens out a little bit. Well, actually zoom the lens in. We're talking about culture in general, and we mentioned all sorts of politics. Let's talk about gaming and the Black community in gaming. And I'd like to go to Fertessa first. You're coming at it from a little different perspective because you're a designer. So all of us are content creators, and all of us, there's not a lot of diversity in the content creation space. There's more coming. But we're still trying to make headway. And you're kind of going into it at another level, designing games. So maybe talk about your experience. Like, how are we doing as a community, as a gaming community, with integrating some of these diverse experiences?
Well, I would say as far as the community, compared to other communities that I have tried to be in, this is by far the most welcoming that I've been able to exist in.
Really?
But yes, I was in
This ain't all bad news, people. This ain't all bad news. This ain't good news too.
Bad news.
Yeah, like I'm a part of a lot of geek communities and different sorts of things, and trying to find your place in that can be very, very hard. So I've had the most success with gaming. That being said, it is still a lot of room for growth because as we're seeing, the art doesn't reflect who I am, who any of you might be, and people don't have as many people of color working at the ground level, making these production decisions. You know, you still see if there's a Black character included, they always have the token afro because we don't have any other hairstyles, you know, or the crew cut. And you see these kind of comments that are meant not maliciously, but they still hurt nonetheless. You see people that, you know, they're not necessarily bad people. They actually could be good people, are good people. But again, they say things because it's not the life that they live daily. And it's, you know, just something that occurred to them in the moment and they want to, you know, respond to it, get it off their chest and then move about their day and their lives. So I find that as a designer, the biggest thing that I've come against is isolation. Especially when I really started out, like I would walk into a con space and imagine 10,000 people in one room and like you couldn't see 5 Black people, right?
Yeah.
Especially as a woman, like there's not going to be another Black woman. That was hard. I would go to many a con and it was just like, if I saw one Black woman, it would be like, whoa, where did you come from?
Give me a number. Let me text you.
Don't leave. Don't leave. Don't leave.
There'd also be like that. Sorry.
Yeah, Monique. Yeah, you go.
So this is like being the only other Black woman. I'd be like, I saw her. She was incredible. I'm gonna talk to her. Hell
Like a
no.
unicorn.
Right.
Stand up.
Yes.
Clapping hard.
Like do a double back. Did I see? Yes.
Basing them claps.
As long as we acknowledge each other, that's enough.
So, you know, that was the biggest, rather than like outright unfriendliness, it was that that well-intentioned ignorance that would isolate me. Because even when I was in Georgia, I was a part of a meetup group and I loved going there because every time I would play a new game and, you know, they would be great games. Unfortunately, the majority of the makeup for that were white, older men. And they didn't care. Like they didn't care about your feelings. They didn't care about who you were. Like I would come in there and as a newbie, first I was being kind of discriminated on because I was a newbie. They're just like, I don't feel like playing a game with a newbie today. Like they just say it right there to your face, right?
Oh yeah.
But then, you know, say they accepted me, I'm sitting down playing the game and they just want to make a joke. And then I have to go play the game of, is it a joke against women or is it a joke against Black people?
Gotta figure it out.
So, no, just stack it up. By the way, just stack it up. You know, just stack it up.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Throw it in the pot. Throw it in the pot.
I actually have a story about the microaggression thing. So at this point, I'll let people know. Like, obviously, so I am not Black. I'm not going to identify Black. I'm not going to front it like that. I'm a Puerto Rican, 100% born in America, the whole thing. However, I married a Black woman, and I have Black children. And one of the inspirations for me putting this thing together was this picture that my daughter drew. This is her bedroom, and this is how she sees herself, and this is how she self-identifies. There's her, and there's her mother. So in a way, and also my work, I'm a social worker. I work in the inner cities. This is a part of my blood in a way that, like, you know, just my mindset in a way that, you know, I'd really try hard to, you know, be as much of an ally as possible. So this is my interest. I want to be perfectly transparent with people, my interest in having this together. So microaggression, right? I saw this at a game table and I wanted to scream. And my wife also talked about this in her workplace. So my wife has dreads, and the person that was, you know, like Jeremy over here, like the dreads. And there was a person at the table, a white person, who they got up and they touched the hair.
Ooh, no.
I mentioned that to my wife, and my wife is like, "You see what I go through?" Like,
No.
yeah, every year.
Like, why do you pet me? Like, that's what I tell them. Like, why are you petting me? Why are you petting me? Like, I'm not like, oh, I can't. It happened to me last year.
You know, the other question that I get all the time when I'm sitting at the table playing a game with a bunch, you know, of people that don't look like me is like, so what do you do? Basically saying, why are you sitting here doing this?
What do you do?
You know, what do you do? Where you work? You know, I always get that.
Yeah. I had one guy back in Gen Con 50, right when I had said I was starting to do board game content, and I drove there and I was playing. I can't remember what game it was. We had a great time. He was like, man, it was so fun. And he was just like, I just didn't know. He said, I didn't think black people like board games. I was like,
All right then.
okay. Yeah, we just had a hell of a time for 2.5 hours. Like, this one loves board games.
We have to be honest, we are rare in the hobby, which is why we're here, because we would go in and what I would do is I'm gonna scan the room and I start counting. Let's see, it's 1, 2,
1, 2,
okay,
3.
it's
It's 1, it's 2. I think I see 2.
You
I see
know,
2.
so
I see 2.
every time you go to the room, you're counting. And most times we go to the room, we're rolling 3 deep because it's me, my husband, and our child. So we already bring the diversity when we walk in, but we want to see other people of color. We've been to too many places where nobody else is there to look like us, but we play, we have a good time. And what Fertessa said, it has been welcoming. We've made some great friends. Now, albeit they are not friends of color.
No.
But we've made some great friends who we really enjoy and we're so happy to have in our lives.
But you know, one of the sad things though, when we go to a con, my wife always told me, Mik, pack some games, because if we're not, you know, welcomed and we, you know, people don't want to sit at the table, we'll just have our own games and sit on the side. And we have done that so many times.
Where people just act like they didn't want to play with us. And also having a child with you. And our son, he's 16 now, but he wasn't 16 when we started. I just couldn't, as a mom, let him feel discriminated against. So if I saw anybody that acted as if they didn't want to be around us, I would make sure we didn't go there because I didn't want to get out of myself. Because you mess with my kid, that's it. I lose it. So Smile is gone. You mess with my kid. So and so we wanted to, you know, find other people and other families, so that he can have fun playing board games too. And it's hard. It's hard.
And, you know, especially getting people of color, black folk, to play these games, you know, because the first things they say, because we go to church, you know, black churches and stuff like that, and the first thing you say, that's for kids, you know, those things.
You know, understand the depth of the hobby.
It's hard, but we're trying. You know, we're still talking to folk. You know, and I have like a little black society that I talk to and try to get them in the games because, you know, like recently we were on a podcast called The Come Up with Nick Wickham. And he's basically an actor. He's an actor here in Omaha, good friend. And he really doesn't know much about gaming, but he said, you know, in college, he played a little Catan. And he had a podcast, and we went on there because that's another place where we can try to get to the community to talk to folk and say, hey, there's some more stuff out there than Life, Jenga, and, you know, Connect 4. It's something that's pretty deep that you'll have some fun with. So, you know, because we can try to go into a room we don't want, y'all.
Do this and start.
Woo, Lord, we tired.
I see 2 people.
But I don't want to also I don't want it to be.
Let's go run to him, you know.
But we also have that thing of like, it ain't no different than, like I said, when I went to a school full of white people, it's like you're at the color table. You know what I'm saying? Like you with the black folks, like the black folks table. And then that one kid, we don't know what race he is. They just throw him with us, like, you know, and the kid who comes from another country right there with us too. You know, like they're like everything that's not white. Y'all sit here, like, you know, like
now
y'all sit here.
Some are welcomed, you know, some are welcome, but
so but it's, you know, it's just different, and it's a whole different thing. But I was gonna say to Fertessa, like, the one thing that's what starts, and we can even get into this with the board games, is like when things look like that. Oh man, I can't put it down. Like, oh, here it is. When you got characters that look like this on your table. Okay. So like, of course that's the gold peddler, right? Of course, this is the gatherer with the buck teeth. Of course, this is the crafty cook. We might as well just Aunt Jemima with this crap, right? So it's just like, you know, like that's the thing. Like it's default to not even care. And I don't think people realize why we react to this stuff. Don't get me wrong. Long way to go. A lot of European designers, they don't understand, but like, that doesn't mean you sell games to all of us. And as you see more of us, you need to be mindful of that.
Spending the money.
They don't care. They don't care. You know, like Europeans and stuff, some of them just don't care, but some do step out. You know, because I have to give, you know, a little credit to, you know, Renegade Studios, because they had the game World's Fair out.
Oh, no, they do it though. They do it though. That's not new to them. That's not new to them, at least.
But check this out though. Check this out. You know, World's Fair, you know, basically they have no black folk in it, but there was some, you know, there's a situation in Chicago where there were black folk at that World's Fair. I was talking to a historian, a black historian, and she said, wait a minute, there was some stuff going on there. So I went back to Renegade and said, hey, something's up here. You need to be adding some stuff to that game.
Yeah.
They went back, they looked at it, hired the a historian that we knew, and then all of a sudden they redid the game, got 4 black characters in there, got Frederick Douglass, and we got Ida Wells in there and 2 others from Chicago. So I mean, they decided to care.
You have to let them know sometimes.
Yeah, you gotta let them know.
Again, they don't take the time to learn that we're involved in every aspect of society, whether it's American otherwise. Africans have hit every continent. We're there.
Because I hate to say it, but over my shoulder, you have the West Kingdom series. We were there. I think it was some black folk running around there in the West Kingdom, in that time, because we were everywhere. But if you have the whole game, nothing but one color, come on, y'all.
They just a lot of people just don't want to do the work, though. They look at it.
That's true.
They pick up their history book. Their history book was written by some guy who's like, well, we didn't actually discover the existence of black people until 1971.
Yeah.
And
Wow. Yeah.
And then we did some pretty questionable things, but it's all fine now.
Yeah, we glossed over that part. That was
a lot of yada yada in our history.
I had an interesting experience whenever I was playtesting some games, and one of those situations where it was a non-American guy who made a game, and it was like a light game with animals, but he said plantation. Like throughout the game, you were trying to do things between different plantations, and again, it was just different animals farming their different fruits from these fruit plantations. And at the end of the game, I was just like, is there a reason why you chose to use the word plantation? And he was like, no, that's what I thought, the fruit orchards or whatever's is called. And I was like, I'm the only person of color in this playtest, but I just want you to know it makes me highly uncomfortable because of the history of the word. And to his credit, he listened, because the next iteration, he got rid of the majority of the mentions of plantation and changed that with something else. So I was like, oh, thank God. But that's why diversity is so important, because some people just don't even think about it. It's not on their mind, this visceral imagery that a word can have, because it doesn't mean the same for them.
Well, that's why I'm happy for you, Fertessa, and I'm proud of you, because you're in the room. We're using that in the room. And we need more people of color in the room to look at a game and say, wait a minute, hold up. That's wrong there. Or maybe you need to add something. If we're not in the room, they're not going to look it up. They don't care.
And I wish more people used, us just to ask. And now I'm getting more of that now, because I've seen some disastrous. I've seen some disastrous. I'm like, no, don't do that. But the thing is, there are people who give a whatever, right? And they don't want to do wrong, but they don't see it either. They don't see it either. Yeah. And even some people who are trying to pay homage to something, they slip it at the same time. Yeah. And it's at least I know where they're at, and they'll even tell me this is exciting. I'm excited about this art. And I'm like, see, you got a way to go. Your mindset, but your mindset, you signed off on that. You know what I'm saying? Mentally.
Turn the chair around. You sit backwards on the chair, and you're like, all right, so.
So it's and it's not
explainy pose.
It may cost you some money sometimes, but in most cases it won't, because some of those people that are coming to you are your friends. You're trying to help them out. You don't want them to fall. You know what I'm saying? They trust you enough to come to them. So it's at least you did, versus whatever.
And that's the thing, right? It's when someone's giving you that kind of feedback, that kind of advice, they're not saying it from a this way I get to really mess up this game. They're saying it because they genuinely want to help you, right? They're like, hey, this might have been a blind spot, this might have been an oversight, this might be just a little bit of ignorance. That's fine. We're all growing. At some point, you got to confront that there's some stuff in your history that may have changed the way that you think about certain things, made it not great. And we're going to just try to course correct just a little bit, so we can get back on a pathway and you can get back to making cool stuff, right? It's not out of malice, but people are so wrapped up in their own thing that as soon as you say that, the the racist word comes around, they're like, "Oh, but I'm not a racist." You're like,
No one said that. Don't
They're just not aware. No, they're
those.
just not aware. Or they just don't, they're not thinking about it. Like, oh, wait a minute, black folk. Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah. They just don't know. They don't care.
Yeah, you did something. The action that you took was a little racist.
Right.
It happens. What we're saying is you can correct it. We can help.
Yeah.
Also, I gotta go run to
I'm not gonna crush you.
I'm gonna take your box. I'll be back in like 3 minutes.
Okay, so like I was just gonna say this, like perfect example. My friend Rob, Arcane Wonders, fantastic, right? They bring over furnaces about all these industrial people, whatnot, and he's bringing a second edition over here, and he was like, there was actually people who were affluent at the turn of the century that were black,
Yeah.
and he was like, I was, asking you. Because I want you to maybe, and I said, hey, I'm not the subject matter expert, but I will join you in your research. Right. And he said, I did my research. And he said, there were even black people that stood on the backs of other black people and made money. And I was like, oh yeah, no question. But at the same time, there was other ones who have not, and we need to find who they are. But what he did? He did his homework and he cared. And that's the thing. And he went for somebody to sign off. He actually went to a couple people, but it's like, that's what I would love to see or hear more of, instead of like a damn paragraph that's smaller than the editor of the rule book. You know what I'm saying? Talk about, hey, well, we considered this. Like I saw the Carnegie game, and I was just like, they actually just like there's one paragraph, and I'm just like, oh, you omitted, like you admitted the part where like between the philanthropy and the rise, which the rise is a good story, the ending of charity is a good story. It's just this history in the middle. Whoa, and that's the thing. They can do that, with our history. So easy. So
yes, they can.
So easy. So easy. In the name of fun, as I always tell people, in the name of fun, people will allow themselves to do that.
The other thing in the industry is like, why are you not finding our stories? Why are you not bringing our stories to light? It's just so many zombies and Roman stories that we can see in games. Where is our stories? We have fantastic things that in our history and our stories, in the diaspora. But hey, where they at?
Yeah, I also think that there's a huge.
Go ahead, Fertessa.
I think also a huge problem is that our imagery isn't being addressed because people, the general public boxes us in, and if we don't conform to that, we're the anomaly. Not that we can exist as different types of people.
Right.
Because like. I remember in college, while I was asleep freshman year, my roommate stood over me with her boyfriend whispering, and she was like, she's so weird. She has a My Chemical Romance poster and she listens to Japanese rock. She doesn't listen to rap. I don't understand. And it was just like, what's blew her mind. Right?
I'm at peak emo hair right now. Like,
Emo's not dead.
It's not dead.
Mike,
acknowledging that.
It's not dead. It's sheltering in place.
Right?
Yeah, I'm gonna go listen to My Chemical Romance tonight.
I was just about to say that when I was in South Carolina. My friend got in my car. He got in my car, and we had just moved in again. I helped this guy. He just moved to I Carolina with nothing. And I was like, man, I need a roommate because I need half rent. So we get in the car. And he's like, hey, man, let's go home. And we're rolling around the corner at My Chemical Romance on. I remember he just like looked over at me. And I was like, I'm about to sing this. I'm about to sing this as loud as possible.
Yep.
I wanted to emphasize something that Eric said about the defensiveness. Right, that happens when you point out something. So like, we're developing our voices, right? We're like, okay, this is wrong or that's wrong and everything. And then that like defensiveness comes in, well, I'm not racist. And then it just short circuits conversation. It's like, oh, okay. And I think like it comes down to the idea that when we do this, when we say this, or even this very discussion, look, we got 6 panels of POC over here. You have all this stuff all over the place. And I think there are people out there, and they may be well-intentioned or not, that think that we want to take something away, that we want the entire old board game to look like this, that we want to erase whiteness or something like that, or replace this, or like we want to not let you have fun and no fun for you because anything with a challenging theme is like, no, we're going to whip it away. And I think that people think that, And it's like, no.
Don't get me wrong, I hate
Oh.
fun, but like at some point, the way that it was once explained to me is like, the thing you are doing is hurting people. Like, don't think about it in terms of taxonomies or words. Like, it's causing harm to other people. Is that something you care about? If the answer is no,
You get some crap if you answer no.
By the way, genius designers, right? Genius designers, right? They like some of the most complex, man, the most beautiful games, and yet can't change 2 cards. The theme,
well, the whole game falls apart at that point.
Yeah, the whole thing is broken. You know. By the way, deep rich history of the game to make accurate maps, make accurate everything is just like you don't even recognize that history. That's crazy to me. Like, why would I even have an argument? Like, why would I even have an argument? You should just know all that history. If you have all that on the map and it's accurate, you should, like, I should not be able to have a conversation with you. You should actually be able to crush me. You should be able to teach me something. I'd be ready to like sign up for like, hey, teach me something so I can go learn. But no, like, I teach you something. And I'm like, wait, why would you make a game if you don't understand the impact of what's going on with that and those cards?
A game in Africa, right on the map.
They don't care. They don't care.
Like, no, come on now. Like, that's wild. You know, like,
it's so deeply ingrained within the gaming culture to accept how it is and the status quo. Because this past summer, I wrote an article and somebody had posted it on Reddit about being welcoming within the gaming space, and
it was so good.
Good article. Good article.
So
yeah,
good.
absolutely. So good.
I heard welcoming and in the same sentence, and I just 10-step a little bit.
I read through, and while a lot of people were supportive, there was one person who made it their sole mission to say, first, I think the author should get over themselves, because how dare they expect to come into a space and be welcomed? Like, no one's supposed to roll the red carpet out for you. And, you know, the next thing, they were just like, also, you have to consider some people don't practice their communication skills, and you can't expect them to do that just because you enter the space. So it's like that kind of combative, this is the way I am, and you shouldn't make me change. So because I enjoy this hobby is prevalent. And that's what something else that we're fighting against. It's not just ignorance and well-meaning people that won't do the research, but it's also people who just absolutely don't want to change because they're in their comfort zone and they don't see the logic behind it.
Yeah, because they're cool with, 10,000 people of one color and, nobody else. They good with that. Go to a Gen Con and not many of us there, they good with that. They don't want that to change.
And yet, from the very depths of their soul, they will cry that you are infringing upon their escapism, and that they should have the ability to escape whenever they feel like it, and no one else should be able to burst that bubble and make it about anything other than them and their fantasy life.
Monique, I want to take away your fun. You see your fun, Monique? I'm taking it away right now.
You know what's worse is that like people don't have to let you
put on the like fun police enamel pin front, because I feel like that could be pretty good. It's like the We Hate Fun.
Yeah.
This is definitely a company who's like, we make fun. I feel like if we do a
this is the We Hate Fun panel right here. You want to ruin everybody's fun.
I just feel like it happens to women too in general. Like it's just women too. It's like, my mom used to always say it. She's like, nobody has to care about you. When you leave this house, I love you. I love you. Even Chris Rock made a joke about it, because I was like, I actually relate to that joke. He was like, nobody cares about you. When you leave this house, nobody's going to care about you like I do. He's very vulgar version. But and I just think to myself, like, she was right. Nobody has to care. But some people let you know without a doubt that you are not allowed here.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate. That's the part. It's like, once you get older, you just realize, like, oh, okay, I'm not invited here. Like, I don't need to be here, right? That what my mom said does apply. It's like, okay, I'm aware of I don't belong here, right? But there's also the people who are like, no, I want to let you know. I actually want to be the first comment. By the way, first, okay. Second of all, I just woke up this morning at 7 a.m. waiting for this to come, right? I'm ready to give this to you, and that's the energy where I can't discern, like, is it because I'm Black or whatever? But damn, I done felt this before. You know what I'm saying? Like, I done felt it before. So I know what that feels like. And you're you're just rekindling that inside of me. And that's unfortunate, man. You know, like that's really the hardest part, you know. People reminding you you're black, man. If they remind you who you are, they remind you who you are. Yeah.
Every day. They're gonna remind you. But, you know, just like with Starla, you know, I would go to a lot of cons and like little meetups and stuff like that. And at one point, Starla said, I don't feel like going to that no more. So I had to go by myself because Starla just said, I don't feel like that, you know, that, you know, trying to go in the room and we're the only ones and all that, you know, I'm good with that. I still went because I love the hobby and I love the board gaming, but you know, it gets tiring, y'all. It gets tiring.
When you've done this all your life. I mean, I didn't go to an HBCU. I went to University of Houston. So I'm just saying, even at University of Houston, you're in, you know, a lecture hall where there's very few of us. This is still Texas. So, and this is Texas in the 90s. So I'm going back and let you guys know.
90s.
Much younger than we are.
Yeah.
So most of you are younger.
We old, y'all. We old.
So this is Texas in the 90s. So, you know, and then I moved to Seattle in the 90s, and that was a very non-Black experience living in Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
Actually, in the building that I lived in, it right there on, I don't know if you know where Roy Street is on I-5 in Norrie, but there were only 3 Black people in that building. And this is an apartment building that has 6 floors. And so I had this experience all my life. So when we got into board gaming, I mean, I know we have to go. Yeah. We have to forge ahead and we have to make our presence known so that somebody else coming up after us won't have this experience. And that's why we do what we do. But as an adult, it gets tiring. You're dealing with it in the corporate world. And then my husband wants me to go to a gaming thing and I got to go in here with 500 people and we're the only ones there. It gets tiring.
It does.
It does.
It does.
I wonder how we're going to do this, though. You know, like how are we going to move it forward? You know, we are Black excellence right here on your screen, you know, but we also do have a challenge. You know, how do we get more of these people in the hobby? I don't care if it's adults. I don't care if it's kids. I don't care. I do not care. I don't care what complexion you are. I want more of us, more people of color. I want everybody to be safe. We'll work on the safe part, but we'll work on all that. But we want more, you know, more of us laughing and enjoying these moments and working through the rough edges together.
Yeah.
The
one thing we can do is, you know, because right now I see everybody just talking to themselves. They're like all the content creators, you know, and all that. We just talk in a circle. Board game Twitter, just talking to each other, all talking. Find avenues where you can talk to other folk. You know, find those avenues
and invite them in so that we can see more numbers. And what I do love about this call tonight, Jason, thanks for doing it, is that we are all so different.
Yeah.
And our differences matter.
Absolutely.
We can't be the exact same. When they see one Black person, we're all the same. Right. And I know, Jason, you're not a Black person, but when I go to a con, I'm looking for you too.
Yes,
I'm
looking for you.
Hispanic brothers.
We count you. We count you.
Anybody that's a little bit brown. But I mean, what I'm saying is
we
need this diversity within ourselves, within our culture, so that we can show that we're different, but we're all the same. We're human. We want to have fun. That's why we came here. So.
Right.
Yeah, and we want to be represented too in the games, and you know, we want games about us. You know, I mean,
no, like that's a good feeling. Like I'm in some board games. That's awesome. Like I'm a paladin in a board game that's coming soon. Like it's freaking awesome. Like it's so awesome, and it looks like me. It actually looks like me. It doesn't look like a white dude painted brown. Like it does not. It looks like me. You know, he even asked me. He said, "Does this look like you?"
And more players than just one. You know, you have all these folks and you just got one.
And I'm in the base game, by the way, which is great. Like, I am not an expansion. I am not a promo. I am not a stretch goal. Not a promo. But that's the thing. It's like that's
we always
to me. That's what's. I know that's what I'm saying.
Women, the second stretch goal was.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. See, once again, I got caught slipping right there. Right. See, there you go. That's true. Yeah. So it's just like. We can do these little things, and to me, honestly, that doesn't mean anything other than like it feels good to me, right? Because it probably won't make a dent, but I just feel like
we're making a dent.
Jeremy,
but
you got to keep being Jeremy, and you got to keep talking.
Yeah, it's what, you
know,
you being in that game makes a dent because every step matters.
Yeah, because a lot of people are looking at you, man. I mean, because when I see, you know, how many Black creators you love or like or whatever, they talk your name up big time.
Yeah.
So you got to make that dent. You got to keep talking and representing it and be the Black excellence that we know you are. You got to keep denting that dent. You got to hit that wall, man. You got to keep hitting it.
And to Mik's point, not only are they bringing you up when they're talking about your favorite Black creators, they're also bringing you up when they're talking their favorite creators. That's an important thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's something I was talking about a little while ago, is that people keep coming out with all these lists and saying essentially like, who are your favorite Black?
Eric, don't you hate that, Eric? Don't you?
I hate that. I'm like, no, stop that. I want to be your favorite reviewer.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in this pile of like, well, you know, we've got my favorite reviewers, and then I got my favorite Black reviewers. Like, it's some weird like Simpsons thing where everyone's fighting. And I'm just like, no.
Yeah.
So
I
let's
think that's
actually.
something.
Okay, go ahead, Fertessa.
Sorry. I think that's something that we can do, both as content creators, designers, is that we can make ourselves more visible. Because like when you're in a hobby and you basically the chocolate chips and the cookie, and you get used to not being able to see yourself and existing that way, it's the same as for them. The reverse is the same for them, and that they get used to not seeing Black people and us not existing in the space. So that's why I feel your art is important. And even like when I'm play testing, I make sure to ask like my casual friends that don't play games, but my Black friends to come play the game. I'll take pictures when I'm showing my play testers. I try and emphasize the POC that are playing so that they're visible and you see that, yes, we play games, right? Because even, you know, photos on, you know, the kids games where you just see these like white kids enjoying the game, it's kind of like saying, oh, Black kids don't play this game, right? So just something as small as that, as showing that inclusion of who you're around, I think is helpful.
Yeah.
So then we actually, it's a great question to kind of close off. We could go on forever and ever, but it's East Coast over here. Actually, so it's Jeremy's question. So like, you know, think of one thing, and I think Jeremy and Mik and Starla and Fertessa, I'll ask the rest of the panel, Monique and then Eric, what is one thing that you can think of that can really move the ball forward that you would like to see in terms of making our board gaming space a little more diverse? I could give it to Eric first if you're still thinking about Monique.
Sure, hit me with your best shot. One thing. It's going to be hard to narrow it down to one thing. Give me a second to parse my thoughts. I think I'll still go back to the thing that I want to think a little bit more about is that people need to be more okay with admitting that they don't know something, that they aren't the expert in something, that they may have been wrong about something, and that other advice could be helpful, right? Like if someone's willing to say, hey, I was researching this, but I'm not sure if my research is 100% right. I'd love to get someone who has experience with this to consult on it. You're gonna get better outcomes, right? They're gonna come to someone. They're going to, most importantly, pay somebody, not slide into your DMs, be like, hey, you're Black, right? Could you look at this for me? And you're just like they're getting like, you can like, it's a DM, but you can still feel them breathing on you. Do you know what I mean?
Eric, preach, boy, preach.
It's like, no, 6 feet, still a pandemic. Wait.
Like, don't try to melt this black chocolate. Don't try to melt this.
Oh God,
Move back, step back.
It's that scene from Alien, right? Like I can feel the breath on me. But no, it's that, right? It's people like that's what I said earlier. We want to make the hobby better, and making the hobby better requires that you gotta like unlearn some harmful things that were a product of how you were brought up, right? Like we all learned some bad stuff. I thought it was pronounced fake aid until I was like 15, maybe. Facade, I think is how you pronounce it. Like I learned that myself. It was terrible. I was
How about Pacificer? I never heard Pacificer until I was like, "What is pacifier, dude?" I never had seen it spelled before. I just never, we learn, right?
The worst feeling in your bones is saying a word that you don't say out loud that often, and everyone just slow looks at you, and you're like, that ain't how that's pronounced, is it?
No, that ain't what it is, bro.
Yeah, no, I think if we can make that progress, the industry becomes better as a whole because we become more receptive to ideas that are outside of our traditional scope. Yeah. And if that's the case, then you start seeing more stuff. You start seeing wider variety of themes. You start seeing a wider variety of characters. You start seeing people seek out other voices because they can bring them in and say, I need your expertise on this. And then those people say, well, I mean, if this chucklehead could make a board game, I could probably make a board game, right? Like, I'm hoping the people say, like, if this rando can write board game reviews, I can probably write board game reviews. But that's what I want. Is I want people to be more receptive to the idea that admitting that you don't know something or admitting that you got something wrong doesn't make you a bad person. Yeah. The thing that messes people up is that when they're told, hey, I don't think that you had this right, they get defensive, they get reflexive, they overreact, and then they just, at some point after they've finished punching themselves in the face on the internet, they're like, is this cancel culture? And you're like, no, it's just a consequence of you like getting on top of a mountain and screaming bad things at anyone who comes within like 15 feet of you. I'm like,
some people need to get checked. They're not used to being checked. Like that's the thing. It's like, you know, it's not like your mama correcting you. It's being checked. You know,
but we're second guessed all the time. We're constantly asked. We're like, are you sure about that? Are you positive? No, yes, I wrote that. I am an expert on that. That is my photo. Yes, I'm aware of where it was taken. Like,
and you know what's the thing is, like, for Black people, have to apologize a lot. As I always say, we got to apologize a lot, and that sucks. Like, yeah, I'm serious.
Yeah, I got my minutes for like complex feelings. Where I'm saying,
I'm like, perfect.
Okay, so I don't have to put you on the spot, Monique. If you don't have a suggestion right off the top of your head.
I do.
Okay, good.
I'm very passionate.
Sure.
Something that will absolutely help, I think, grow forward and move forward is notice that I am Black, like notice that I am a woman, and then don't ask me to be a panel about being a spokesperson about diversity. Talk to me about games because that's what I love. Talk to me about Jane Austen because that's what I love. Talk to me about any sort of level of joy and things that we get to nerd out about. That's what I love. Talk to me because you like what I have to say, the way that my perspective is, like you would anyone else you invite to a panel. But don't only seek me out whenever you're looking for a woman of color that like looks like it could fit in any number of diversity slots for you. Talk to me because you want to talk to me, but keep in mind who I am as well. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so great. I that has been a thing of like, you know, a lot of females feel that way, and any POC feels that way of like, okay, I had that myself. It's like, okay, you're Puerto Rican. Talk about Puerto Rican stuff, Jason. It's like, oh, here we go.
And it's like if someone wants to like often like this is my first time talking about like my Black experience, so I got a little nervous because it's so alien for me. So if someone wants me to go up there and talk about the Black experience, it's going to be very, very different coming from me than it would like for Tessa. And like there may be some similarities, but it's still going to be like that whole monolith thing.
There is no Black experience.
There's no people's faces get crestfallen when I'm like, oh, I'm adopted. They're like, oh, we wanted a real one. And I'm like,
I know. Right? And that's the other thing. It's just like, I don't know what to tell you. Like I grew up on the West Coast, which is very different than growing up in the South or the East, and also spent a lot of time in Oregon, where I was illegal.
Just think about it though. Like, go ahead. I'm just saying, like, you don't want to have to do this all the time. Like, you don't want to have to tell your Black origin story all the time. Like, you know, like I know that we do have to kind of get through some of that, but it's like, just ask me what games I like. What is your top 10 that we're doing? Like, let's do the top 10. Like, what is this? Like, I don't need that. You know, I already got enough of the comments crap for that. But just bring me on. Let's have some fun. You know, like
white people who hate Spider-Man movies, they want to hear that origin story like a bunch. They're like, where are you? Where are you? Where are you really?
You're killing me.
And you're just like yeah.
Well, I guess
I'm tired of superhero origin story. My God,
you know, we've decided to take that burden and, you know, really, you know, because that's our mission, you know, to bring diversity and inclusion. So we're gonna take that burden and we're gonna talk about it. You know, if he wants to come on and talk about diversity and inclusion, we're gonna be there. You know, because we want to see change and we want to see a difference. So we'll take that burden, we'll take that cross, we'll do it. and we'll talk
Right.
about it.
But also, we want to make sure we bring excellence to the hobby,
Yeah.
so that we
Yes.
are respected for what we do, and that's one of
Yes.
our biggest things. We make sure that what we put out there, it's not going to be substandard.
Yeah.
We work so hard to make sure our content is right, so it's not just somebody black and we're going to support them because they're black. No, we're supporting them because they're good,
Yes,
and
sir.
that's what I want people to know.
Black
Yes, sir.
excellence, baby. Black excellence.
So the way I usually put that, and this will, I guess, this be my little thing here, is distinguish seeing from judging. And so, like, you can see us as what we are, and I want you. It drives me a little bit crazy when it's like I don't see race, and I
Don't
feel
you
like
dare.
that.
Say that.
Don't you
That
dare.
is
Don't
that's
you
a
dare.
big. It's if you
Evaluate
talking about
Don't
something
you
that's going
dare.
to set us back,
Those-
then
those
the
are-
idea of I don't see race going to set us back. I was like, I don't want to see race because it's going to cause arguments and blah blah. No. See me. See
me.
the beautiful wall of people. That's why I put this up there as a
Amen,
thumbnail.
amen.
This is. I want you to see it, but see it without judging.
That's
Yeah.
right. Amen.
They
Distinguish
they come to me and they're
seeing
like,
from
"Oh,
judging.
I don't see color," and I'm like, "Well, we're playing Kashgar right now,
Right.
bud. Like,
Right.
same shape. Like,
Yeah.
this is not a game that is friendly for people who are telling me they don't see colors. So, like, either you're lying to me, or we need to have a conversation about how you're evaluating the world around you."
If you don't see color, then why is it so hard for you? So hard for you to say Black Lives Matter.
Mm.
Like, you just can't say it. Like, and I've watched people struggle to say it. So I am Black. Tell me my Black life matters to you. That's all. Okay,
Jeremy, all lives matter, Jeremy. It's all.
I'm like, no. But I'm right here though. But we can get on board. I just need you to look at me and tell me Black Lives Matter. And it's
But now you're bullying. Like, some
now I'm bullying.
it's
Yeah.
feelings.
Yeah, no.
And when I talk
I am
about
not a rainbow, bro. Like, I'm Black. Like, this is
when I
melanin
talk
all
about
day.
like distinguishing seeing from judging, so like you see us in all of our glory, but do not judge that. Like, let's say BLM, right? Like, I think people judge that BLM is militant and
Our
BLM wants
communists,
to
they
replace.
think communists.
It's not. It is.
It's not.
Just see us, but keep an open mind. So if you see Monique, don't judge her as XYZ. She's gonna listen to My Chemical Romance in your face, and
Right, you can judge her for that.
she's gonna screamo your head off, and Jeremy's gonna be singing the whitest of white songs in your face.
So hard. Ask me about Green Day.
So that's my big thing. Is like, you could see us and don't judge us, and if you need help with that process, we are all available on our channels. So please, so we introduced our channel, so that's how we're going to close. So what I'd like to ask you is, what are your next upcoming projects? So this will launch in the middle of February. We still have a little bit of Black History Month left. So please reintroduce your channels and let us know where we can contact you if people want to follow up, your handles and everything. And also, what is in the immediate future for your project, either content or in Fertessa's case, the game. I'll go reverse order. I'll go with Mik and Starla first.
Okay, well, again, we're Our Family Plays Games. You can
Yeah.
get us at Our Family Plays Games on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we're _plays, and on YouTube. And for the entire month of February, we'll be doing a Black History series. So check us out. We've got a lot of great content creators coming on board. We're going to do some interviews. So it's going to be a nice, fun event for February.
Yeah, just showcasing Black excellence and just all the forgotten genius of our people. We're gonna try to bring it out a little bit.
And of course,
Say
we're
word.
trying to
Say word. Say word. Say word.
All right, Eric. Well, Eric is going to be real busy because he's in an empty house. He has just moved. He needs a haircut, and there's a lot that has to happen.
I can't get a haircut.
Do not get a haircut. Your hair is divine.
Yeah. Like I said, you're not in your final form yet. I love you.
No, it's gonna get longer before it gets better.
What's going to happen with what's Eric's playing?
What's Eric playing? What's Eric playing is the unpacking game. So I'm Yurko. I'm at What's Eric Playing on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I guess Twitter I'm What's E Playing, because What's Eric Playing is 16 characters. That's a different story entirely. My next big project is I actually have a space for an office now. So I'm going to be rebuilding that out into a board game photography studio and actually get some I have some LED lights in my Amazon cart that are looking pretty sharp.
Nice. The board game photography really, really important to get those things looking good and get this stuff attractive. You are definitely one of the foremost people for that. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm really excited about what's coming next on the photography front. So I'm going to try and see if I can do some cool stuff there.
All right, Jeremy, what's coming up for you?
Oh man. Well, honestly, just to close this out, like for me, I'm stepping away for a little bit. A lot of things happen to me, and I just can't. I couldn't handle it. I just can't. Like I really can't. It's interesting how all this energy, like on one end, it's been so positive, like today and stuff like that. It's been real motivating and exciting, but like at the same time, like there's some things that happened to me since day one of New Year's that have taught me, like I said, who have crushed me. So it's like it's hurting me so much, and you do so much content that sometimes you get lost, and it only takes like one thing to prick you. And then you go, oh my God, like I am not feeling good about myself. Like I'm not, you little bit of confidence you lose is multiplied quite a bit. And I don't want to take a toll on my family or my mental health. So I'm going to be taking a break in the middle of February, finishing up some of the commitments I have. And I want to relaunch some things with Jambalaya Plays Games because I just want to kind of focus on my own brand too. I'll be doing some things with Man vs. Meeple, but yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot with my own community page. I do have a community page on Facebook, and I'll be doing play tests in there and just random stuff in there, keeping it small and intimate while I'm away for a while. And then we'll come back and see if we, beautiful and blacker than ever.
Can't keep a good man down.
Man, I'm a hardworking mug, so we'll see what happens when I come back, right?
All right. So a gamer girl geek freak. I the words that mess up the words all the time.
I have been using that name for years. I had no idea it was hard to say until people started saying it. I know words.
They just word it all so much.
Yeah. So I mean, yes. So that is to say, I understand. But yes, game freak. Geek girl, because I'm a game freak and I'm a huge geek, and girls close enough. And so although it is Game Freak Geek on Twitter because Twitter, but I am on Twitch and I am streaming. I am adding a new stream as of next week. I am streaming video, story-driven video games Monday evenings, where I do lots of vocal voice work because that's what I used to love to do. And sing at random because I do that a lot too. And then I will be streaming Tuesday afternoons, and then Wednesday and Friday mornings will just be my board game sessions where I like detective deduction kind of games. So there will be a lot of those being played.
Very nice. Last and certainly not least.
Hello. So I am at Fertessa on Twitter, and I have 3 games upcoming. Book of Villainy should be coming to Kickstarter at the end of Q1, and if not, very, very close to that. And Wicked and Wise should be coming out in Q2. And then I have Mansplaining, which is a mystery to me, but should hopefully also be coming out soon. So look out for that.
Mansplaining is.
Yes, let me tell you.
Emotionally ready for like
I was trying to say what
every single man
what it was was.
See what happened was.
What happened?
So yes, you can find me there, or you won't find me on Kickstarter, but you'll find my games on Kickstarter, and I hope to see you guys on some platform. Yes.
Yay.
This is Jason reminding you, if you could change your mind, you could change the world. And please change your mind about what we're doing here. If you have ideas that we are out to steal anybody's fun, we are not. We are here to increase the fun. We are here to remove the hurt. We're here to remove the friction, and we are here to increase people's fun. So if you need a mind change about that, then please, I hope this conversation helped you out. So in other ways, go ahead and change the world in your own ways. This is Jason on behalf of my entire panel. Thank you so much for joining me, and we will see y'all later.
Bye.